Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. How long is this weather delay going on for? 11:30. My buddy Ryan Konofsky was texting me because I turned the broadcast off. It makes me feel good about myself because I know I can fill time doing radio. TV people are like 3 minutes a segment, and then they're like, "Oh my god, what do we do?" So, the broadcasters are like talking, and Collinsworth and Tirico are like, they just want to send it back to the studio people, but the studio people probably scattered because they just did halftime. They don't have to come on after the game, so they're like going to the bathroom or getting something to eat or whatever. So then they got all scattered, and then they can't talk about anything after more than a segment. So I'm like, all right, I'm bored. I was watching Cops, believe it or not. What's up, everybody? I was watching Cops Reloaded, I think. What's up, Vince? I should call Herb from Northeast Philly. Herb from Northeast Philly called me when rumors started flying that I was going back to 97.5 The Fanatic. Herb called me. Herb from Northeast Philly called me, and I didn't answer. I haven't talked to Herb in a while. If you answer, then he starts calling you all the time. So I didn't answer, but I was wondering what he wanted because I hadn't talked to him in a while. And he sent me a text message. Let me see the text messages. I love Herb. He said, I heard you're taking over for Missinelli. Call me. I'm a top 5 caller on WIP. It's so funny. Like, yeah, I made up the whole top 5 caller thing, Herb. Believe me, I'm aware that you're a top 5 caller. So if I ever get back on the radio, I look forward to talking to Herb from Northeast Philly again. Sorry, I have to answer my wife here. You're going to shower or not? No, I'm not going to take a shower right now. But I mean, this sucks. It just doesn't suck it sucks because the game's going to be delayed an hour. It completely takes any momentum, and I don't think it means more for the Eagles or the Cowboys. But there's like 4 minutes and 44 seconds left to go. I believe it was something like that when play was stopped. So you still have another quarter and a half. This game's not going to be over till 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's not like I have a job, but I do have kids that I need to get off to school. So I will be having to wake up with the children at their normal hour. But so that's why I hate these night games. So by the way, and let me just say this, because whenever I say this, I'll have a few people that will be like, oh, yeah, you're not a real fan if you don't want to go down to the games or whatever. I got my buddies at Bet Parks had an extra ticket, and Matt Alba, the executive producer up there, sent me a text at like 11 a.m., 12 o'clock or something like that. I was like, hey, got an extra ticket. And lower level, good seats. But other than the fact that we were supposed to have softball practice tonight, it started raining literally as practice started. I couldn't make it happen. But also, like, driving down from where I live and the friggin' traffic and the lots and everybody's so goddamn drunk. And now this, right? Like, this would be the worst. See, like, my problem is it takes so long to get out of the stadium, Lincoln Financial Field, that once the third quarter hits, and you see a lot of people like this, you're almost looking for the right time to exit. It's like, all right, like, they got the game won here, and like, all right, let's run. And then you're like sprinting through the parking lot. This is what I did. Sprinting through the parking lot so you can get to the car, so you can try to get out of the lot before everybody else before the game's over. Otherwise, it'll take you 3 hours to get home. Like, I don't want to do that. So I was glad I was not down there tonight. Glad. But yeah, I mean, they came out the second half, and the Eagles I don't even remember what happened, honestly. Eagles got a field goal, and then let me see. So you had the Miles Sanders fumble. So Miles Sanders takes that run, and it's like, all right, like, people are booing him and stuff. And Miles feels a certain way, I'm sure, about his exit of Philadelphia. People are kind of mean to him after he left. But so he has that long run, and it's like, oh shit. Miles Sanders, and then he gives it right up. Gives it right up. And Dak Prescott made a perhaps a game-saving tackle because Quinyon Mitchell picks that up. He's gone. And Dak saw it and made a play on it and made a really nice tackle. And I think that's where we are right now. Wasn't that like one of the last things that happened? So anyway, current drive, fumble recovery. Yeah. So the Eagles are going to be looking good, but still, like you're starting cold. I mean, just think about it from a fan's perspective, right? Like you were so juiced up. Halftime happens. Now it's the third quarter. It's like, all right, let's go. Let's rev it up. It's always It's 11:15. The guys just had halftime. Now they're got to go back out there. So like now they got to rev themselves back up. I'm just saying, and this is for both teams. Like it just, of course they're going back out there to play, but it's, it takes a lot of momentum out of it. So yeah, Jake Elliott with a 58-yard field goal. And Collinsworth right on cue was like, oh, you don't really think of Jake Elliott as a long distance kicker. That sucker would have been good from 70 yards out there. So Elliott with the field goal, like you would like to say the Eagles are in command, but like they're a punt and a Cowboys drive from being behind, and that's not that far-fetched to think it could happen. So it's important that they continue to do what they're doing. So far in the receiving game, Devontae Smith, 2 catches for 9 yards. Does he even have a target? Does A.J. Brown even have a target? So what's going on with that? And I'm not going to complain the offense has 24 points. But I can't imagine that Dallas has this shutdown corner that A.J. Brown can't get open. Is this one of these things where they're just like they're running the ball and he's looking for Goddard and he's not even looking his direction? You remember the passing offense when all the shit went down and BG said they weren't friends or whatever happened with that situation. But he wasn't getting targets and he put his ego aside last year. Like you look at A.J. Brown, you look at his numbers. If he was playing on a pass happy offense, he's a 1,400-yard, 1,500-yard wide receiver still. And he's not getting those targets because he's still a monster. But he's not getting those targets right now, unfortunately. So, Collinsworth more insufferable than usual. That's not a question, right? That's a statement. I mean, I for the most part like listening to Collinsworth, but he definitely is insufferable with some of his takes. But yeah, there you go. You know what? Should I text Herb from Northeast Philly to see what he's doing? Because I don't even know what to say. I feel like some of these, I feel like the announcers right now, like now what do we say? We just broke down halftime. Like now we got to do it all over again. We can't do that again. So let's go Herb, Herb. Think he's working? Hey, Herb. Oh, watch, he'll probably call me right away. And if he does. Now, if you don't know this, I've had Herb on the program before. And he is he's not good with technology. So to try to get him on a video is probably like a 10% yes or no right now. Jalix Hunt, you know what? I thought the same thing. They showed I think it was a play in the second half where it's like a Jalix Hunt in on that as well. And it's like, no, Jalix Hunt didn't make the play. He was the second guy in. So you haven't seen anything. Really haven't seen anything from Jalix Hunt. Let me look at what they've done on defense. I mean, really defensively, obviously they haven't looked great. Where's the defense here? Anybody have a sack? No sack for the Eagles. 1 tackle for a loss. That was Zach Bond. Bond's made a couple of plays. He actually tracked down Miles Sanders, and then he made that next play where really Dak Prescott. And they didn't say this on the broadcast. Dak Prescott that was a bad throw. He underthrew him. He hit Bond in the back of the helmet. Got to put that up there. That very easily could have been a touchdown reception for Dallas. Very easily. But yeah, Dory Jackson was out and then he was back in. Maybe he should go back out again because he just isn't very good. So Nolan Smith, he had the sportsmanlike penalty. Again, I don't get, I'm not all that worried about it. Like he early in the season, you can't do it. I was upstairs like glued on the glued on the couch, and then my buddy Ryan Kanofsky texted me, and he's like, "Yeah, I was just watching you from earlier from the halftime show." So I gave him a shout out because I thought maybe he checked it on Instagram or on Twitter, and he's like, "No, it wasn't me." But so I'm like, "All right, maybe I'll go live right now." But I'm sure everybody is in that phase of like, all right, once it's the delay, you got 10 minutes and you got 20 minutes, and then you're like, this sucks. And this really does suck. But anyway, Herb walks around with like he is a celebrity. So he is a celebrity. And I won't say I created him, but I kind of did. Wondering what I'm up to. I'm just laying on the couch most days, man. Eating chips, laying on the couch, stuff like that. But I appreciate it. So people, again, there's this rumor that won't seem to go away that everybody's asking me about. So I don't know who's starting it, but I guess we'll have to see if it eventually comes true. Penalties. Am I concerned? 215-592-9494. Are you concerned? Penalties, lots of them. Are they undisciplined? Is Nick Sirianni celebrating the Super Bowl still? 215-592-9494. I don't know, Rick. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about doing that anymore, man. No, I'm not worried about anything. You know what I really worry when they start losing games and it's towards the end of the year. I think it is fair to, after not even 3/4 of a game and they lost their best player who may be suspended after this, to kind of be like, all right, like let's look at this defense. So is Zach Bond's their best player without Jalen Carter on the field? And I know like maybe it's Quinyon Mitchell, but he's a corner, right? Like who else is making plays? If Jalen Hunt isn't making plays, is Ojimo making plays? Young has flashed a couple times where you've seen him tonight, but all of a sudden the defense that we saw in the Super Bowl doesn't have the same lick to it tonight, right? Not having Slay is it's going to end up being, and you hope that over the course of the season they figure it out. Maybe there's a trade at the trade deadline, maybe something like that. But it's, man, Adoree Jackson, if that's it, and he was signed for exactly the reason that he's starting right now. They were giving Kelee Ringo the opportunity to be the starter, and they hoped that he took the job. And then they traded for the kid from the Raiders, and they hope maybe once he gets going in the defense that he can be the one to step in. But they obviously don't believe that Kelee Ringo is the guy because they make that trade on top of it as well. So I think Adoree Jackson's your starter until hopefully, I don't even know the kid's name from Oakland or from Las Vegas, from the Raiders. Can you tell I'm not doing daily sports radio or TV anymore? It's been kind of nice, but just keep this in mind. It's a good point. Remember, the beginning of last year, this defense wasn't good. This is like the biggest shock in the world of anything that happened with the Eagles last year was that their defense developed into the best defense in the NFL. Of all the bets that I could have made, I would have never made that bet. I remember saying at the beginning of last year that if they can be a top third defense and create turnovers and get sacks, then that's all you need. You need the offense to carry you and your defense to play good enough. And that's obviously not what happened. They dominated the Chiefs on the line of scrimmage in the Super Bowl. So it may take a little bit of time to get them going again. And Jalen Carter obviously can't lose. Can't lose him. He's a total maniac. But, we'll see. We'll see. What else is going on with your fighting Phils? Herb texting me back. Can you believe this about Carter? Not good. Believe the Eagles will win. There you go. Herb has his say. Eagles still win the game, but he's besides himself on Jalen Carter. Phillies win tonight. I was watching the game. Very good effort, good pitching performance. They got an insurance run to put them up 2-0, and then Duran closed the door. A very good Brewers team, best record in the National League. Phillies go up there and take 2 of 3. Could possibly be who you face at some point in the playoffs. Not that far away. So the Phillies now back up to a 6-point lead in the NL East. And so they got a little bit of breathing room here as they won 2 of 3. And like really, it's all about, do they have enough without Zach Wheeler, and exactly what will this offense look like once the playoff starts? Because Schwarber feels like hasn't had a home run or a hit since he had the 4 home run game. And yeah, like you can see how much he carries the offense. Now the pitching carried him this series, but that was an enjoyable game today. I love the late afternoon games because while I'm cooking dinner or whatever, I'm watching the game and listening to it at the same time. So that was a really good series for the Phillies. As they go up there and they get swept, and now you're like, oh man, like what are we doing here? So now they go to the Marlins, and you would hope you would lickety split the Marlins, and that'll take you into the weekend, and I'll have to look ahead to their schedule. But yeah, it's looking like one of these years. Never, I wasn't doing it last year, but the previous year, where the Phillies were marching to the World Series and the Eagles were marching to the Super Bowl. So however was that 3 years ago? So remember that's the season the Eagles. So you had was it an NLCS or a World Series game the same night as that Thursday night football game? And the Thursday night game was against Houston. And Texans weren't very good, and the Eagles just totally mopped them up. So he didn't have to pay attention. Remember that game? There was fans that were yelling at Howie in the stands, and they were kind of giving him shit, and Howie came over and was very offended. Very interesting. All right. I think the game's going to get started coming up. Is it still 11:30? Vince, you're out there. Are they saying 11:30? I just need this game to start because it's been a while. All right, let me see here. All right. Nick Harris reports that Carter so here's what Nick Harris, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, says. Eagles fullback Ben Van Summeren's injured knee was being examined. Prescott spit on the ground near the Eagles' defensive huddle. Carter took offense and approached Prescott, claiming Prescott was being hostile. While Prescott was explaining that it wasn't his intention, Carter spit at Prescott. All right. Well, there you go. So he's claiming that he was spit at. So whether or not that actually happened or not, I don't know. But all right, game's coming back on. I will not be on post game because I will be going to sleep probably. But everybody, see you.